He thought he found a unique antique, but the camera didn't capture memories, it sentenced people to them. Leo, a photographer with an eye for the past, stumbled upon it at a weekend flea market. Tucked away under a pile of dusty postcards was a vintage camera, a beautiful contraption of leather and brass. The seller, an old man with eyes that seemed to hold a century of stories, sold it to him for a song, muttering something about it having a long history. Leo, thrilled with his find, couldn't wait to test it out. His first subject was a street musician, a cheerful man named Arthur playing a soulful tune on his saxophone. Leo framed the shot, the camera feeling perfectly balanced in his hands. He pressed the shutter, and the world seemed to hold its breath for a second before the satisfying click echoed in the air. The next day, the news was grim. Arthur had been involved in a freak accident. A loose sign from a storefront had fallen, a 1 in a million chance. Leo felt a pang of sadness, but dismissed it as a tragic coincidence. A few days later, he took the camera to a local park. He photographed a young couple, laughing on a park bench, their joy infectious. They posed happily for him, and he promised to send them a copy. 24 hours later, their faces were on the evening news. A sudden, inexplicable brake failure in their car had led to a terrible crash on a quiet road. A cold dread began to seep into Leo's heart. It couldn't be. 2 accidents, 2 subjects of his new camera. It was a paranoid, ridiculous thought, but it wouldn't leave him. He needed to test his horrifying theory. His hands trembled as he approached his neighbor, Mr. Henderson, who was meticulously pruning his prize-winning roses. For a local photography project, Leo lied, his voice strained. He lifted the camera, but this time, he looked carefully through the viewfinder before taking the shot. The image was distorted. For a split second, he saw Mr. Henderson, not among his roses, but surrounded by smoke, a fallen ladder beside him. It was a ghostly, fleeting premonition. Shaken, he lowered the camera, unable to press the shutter. But the image was burned into his mind. He spent the rest of the day in a state of high alert, watching his neighbor's house. The next morning, a fire truck wailed down their street. An old, faulty wire in Mr. Henderson's garage had sparked a fire. He'd been on a ladder, and the smoke had overwhelmed him. The premonition had come true. The camera wasn't just a camera. It was a curse, a harbinger of doom. It didn't just take pictures. It showed him how his subjects would meet their end, exactly 24 hours later. Panic set in. He thought about destroying the camera, smashing it to pieces. But a morbid curiosity, a terrifying sense of power, held him back. He felt like a helpless observer to a fate he was setting in motion. His next test was unintentional. A week had passed, and he hadn't touched the cursed object. But a barista, a young woman with vibrant pink hair who always remembered his coffee order, commented on the beautiful camera hanging around his neck. "Can you take my picture? I love vintage stuff," she exclaimed. Before he could refuse, she struck a pose. His finger, moving on autopilot, pressed the shutter. He quickly looked through the viewfinder. This time, the vision was sickeningly clear. He saw her, not in the coffee shop, but on a subway platform, the reflection of an oncoming train in her wide, terrified eyes as she stumbled forward. He wanted to scream, to warn her, but what could he say? "Don't take the subway tomorrow. A ghost in my camera told me so." He was paralyzed by the absurdity and the horror. The next day's news confirmed his vision. A tragic fall onto the tracks. The camera was now 3 for 3. The weight of this knowledge was crushing him. He was a grim reaper with a roll of film. He hid the camera away, vowing never to use it again. But life has a cruel sense of irony. It was his daughter's 7th birthday. The party was in full swing in their backyard. Family and friends were all there, laughing and celebrating. His wife, not knowing the camera's dark secret, handed it to him. "Leo, take a picture of Maya with her cake. Your regular camera is out of battery. Use the old one. It's so stylish." His blood ran cold. "No," he said, his voice barely a whisper. But everyone was looking, smiling, waiting. Maya, his sweet, innocent daughter, was beaming, her face illuminated by 7 flickering candles. How could he refuse? How could he explain? It was just one picture. Maybe the curse was broken. Maybe it was all in his head. With a hand that shook so violently he could barely hold it steady, he raised the camera. He told himself not to look through the viewfinder. Just point and shoot. But he couldn't resist. His eye found the eyepiece, and his world shattered. He snapped the picture and immediately ran to his makeshift darkroom in the basement. his heart pounding against his ribs like a drum. He fumbled with the chemicals, his hands slick with sweat. He needed to see the photo to prove the vision wrong. As the image slowly materialized on the paper in the developing tray, he felt a sliver of relief. It was just a picture of Maya, smiling, the cake in front of her. Normal. Perfect. Then, his gaze drifted back to the camera, still clutched in his hand. He had to be sure. He lifted it, his eye pressed against the cold glass of the viewfinder, and pointed it at the freshly developed photograph. The premonition appeared. In the ghostly image, he saw his daughter Maya's reflection, not in the cheerful birthday scene, but in the jagged shards of a broken mirror. And just behind her, cloaked in darkness, a terrifying shadow loomed, its form indistinct but its presence radiating pure malice. The camera didn't just show accidents. It showed something else was involved. And now, it was coming for his daughter. What happens next? We'll continue Leo's terrifying journey in our next video. If this story sent a chill down your spine, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with a friend who loves a good scare, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the conclusion. Thanks for watching.